future is now.
Hey everyone, welcome to this next episode of the Next Now podcast, and it's Cheryl Cran. And in this episode, I want to talk about the three-legged stool of what we need to be as leaders, especially in today's environment, to be effective. Here's what I can tell you that I know for sure. It is not enough in this era of 2023, 2024, with AI, automation, chat GPT, the rise of technology, the rise of remote work, the rise of globalization, the rise of increased competitiveness. I can tell you that it is not enough to have a singular approach to leadership. In other words, it's not enough to simply have technical knowledge. If you have technical knowledge, that's awesome, because that means you can do the functions. But if that's your leg that you're relying on that stool, it's not enough in today's environment, specifically because AI is going to continue to augment that technical knowledge. So more and more people are going to have access to technical knowledge. So we have to be aware of, while that might have been a coat rack that we could hang our coat on and say, well, I've got the most technical knowledge, I will say to you that is not something that I would rest my laurels on. It is not enough as a leader to have technical knowledge in today's environment. We need to be developing other areas of efficacy. And that includes having the ability that, in addition to technical knowledge, having the ability to have high levels of strategic insight. And it's so fascinating because I am a consultant to a number of different firms in a variety of different industries. I coach a number of leaders. I speak regularly on leadership. And what I find is there is still, in today's environment, a number of leaders who are sort of, they've gotten into their comfort zone of their efficacy. So their efficacy might be that they are an analytical, technical type person. And because that's comfortable to them, that's what they rely on as their approach. And what happens when we do that is, if you do not match technical expertise with strategic insight, then you're only approaching it. And so people, if you're leading people, they will come to you for technical support, but they won't come to you for strategic insight. And what will happen is the team will lack synergy, the team will lack vision, and the team will lack community, collaboration, continuity. And I want you to think about this. Now, if you rely simply on strategic insight as your leg of that stool, without the technical knowledge, that too is not good, because you can have all the strategic insight in the world. You can see how everything fits together. You can see the dynamics of what's going on with your team. But if you don't have the technical knowledge, you're missing the context that your team needs in order to deliver on that strategic insight. So both legs are needed for that stool of being a very successful leader in today's environment. But the third leg, which is critical, is the leg around people engagement. So if you have strategic insight with technical knowledge, you're probably being very effective. If you do not have the third leg, which is knowing how to engage people on a human-to-human level, then you will struggle in this environment of leadership as we head into the turbocharged future that is going to be more leveraged AI, more leveraged automation. So again, if you have the visual of a stool with three legs, in its perfection, that strategic insight with technical knowledge and people engagement would mean, how you know that you have all three is your team knows exactly where they're going. They have a vision, they know the mission, they know the values of you as a leader and for the team, and they know exactly where they're going. If you've got the technical knowledge, it means you've provided the map. You've given them the how, you've given them the why, you've given them the what, and you've given them the steps, and you've given them the resources, and you've given them the checklists, and you've given them the tools, and you're giving them the training, and you're giving them everything they need to be successful. And then if you've really leveraged the people engagement side as a leader, you are communicating in a human to human manner. You have leveraged your knowledge of personality styles and the different dynamics going on in your team. You've become more heightened in your ability to be aware of the nuances and the dynamics within your team. You're picking up on the unheard or the unseen messages going on between your team. And this applies whether your team is all together in office, whether it's hybrid, whether it's primarily remote. It just means that your ability to engage requires different approaches and different tools. So I just had a call with a client that I'm coaching where they were talking about how they were having struggles with engagement right now, and that they were just focused in the last 6 months on major project completion. But now people were burned out, and people were saying that they were burned out, and people were needing a vacation, and people were coming and saying, I might be looking for some other work. So those types of signs are usually post. In other words, that is a symptom of that stool didn't have a people engagement legs firmly in place. It had the strategic insight, and it had the technical, which are all very practical, but it didn't have that whole human piece. And when we talk people engagement, I'm talking about change leadership, letting people know where they fit in the changes going on in the organization, in your department. And that's not just a once a quarter dialogue. That is a regular Teams dialogue that you're having on a weekly basis. But it also means you're committing to those leadership one-on-ones with your team members on a weekly basis, depending on the size of your team. It might be bi-weekly, it might be monthly, but you are committed to those one-on-ones. Those are some things that is a non-negotiable in your people engagement purpose. You are willing to have those because you know that that's going to keep that leg of that stool in place, and that it's going to keep the engine of strategic insight and technical knowledge running. So in today's episode, I want you to really do a quick assessment. And if you were to look at those 3 legs of that stool, which of them is your strongest? Or which is the one that you rely on the most? Which is the one you default to? Is it that strategic insight? Is it that technical knowledge and that task-driven approach? Or is it that people piece? And then ask yourself, okay, let's say in your case, it's technical. Okay, how do I commit to augmenting that people engagement piece? Okay, I'm going to get back into my consistent one-on-ones with people where we're having crucial conversations about the work and what needs to be done. And I'm going to have a conversation around where we're going and what this means for each individual, and what their succession plan looks like, and what their roadmap looks like, and what their career path looks like. By the way, a lot of times leaders only think of those discussions to happen, once a quarter or at performance review times, whatever the frequency is. In my experience, especially in today's marketplace, people want to know on a regular basis, where is this taking me? How is what I'm doing now going to lead me to something better? What are my opportunities? And then you're having conversations with them. Where do you want to be? Do you still want to be in this department? Do you want to learn or cross-train in another department? We've talked about performance and people engagement for years, and this has been my jam for over 20 years. But never before has it been imperative that these 3 legs of the stool are in place, because now we have more and more workers, when they're dissatisfied, they're leaving, and they're not hanging in just out of, loyalty because they feel loyal. It's more about the existential questioning that people have been asking themselves. How much time is this going to take? Is this making me feel connected to my employer? Do I feel like the leader cares about me? Those are the types of questions people are asking. We are living and working in completely different times. So with that 3-legged stool, this podcast episode, I'm asking you, which of those is strong for you? It could be all 3. If so, the question is, how do you elevate all 3 to the next level? And looking for ways to do that. And then lastly, what areas am I, I'm not that strong on, and I'm really committed to developing myself on over the next 90 days. If I can help you with any of that, as a coach, as a consultant, with my training or my keynote speaking, or in our leadership retreats, please reach out to me, Cheryl at nextmapping.com, and I'd be happy to have a further conversation with you. Thanks for listening. We'll see you on the next episode.